The research process is really just a quest for knowledge, and that right there should drive anybody, that knowing something that nobody else knows. So what we do is we have two sides of the house mainly, but there are multiple projects going on with multiple researchers. But our main two sides of the house are on the athletic side in terms of performance, and then the other side of the house is the first responder side of the house. And so we serve our local communities, but we also branch out to fire and police and military and other federal agencies across the United States. So the VO2 max test is really a test of maximal oxygen consumption. We think about it in a pretty simple way. We measure the amount of oxygen that's in the air, and then we measure the amount of oxygen that comes out of the participant into an analyzer. And so really the difference between those two is how much they consumed at the cellular level.
So that means endurance exercise. How long can you do it, right? It takes into account your cardiovascular system and your respiratory system. And also how your muscles work in conjunction with those other systems.
So we can actually, for let's say our track team, if we know their VO2 max numbers, then we can predict what their 400 time is within a few seconds. We can predict what their 800 or 1600 or anything above that, right? So 5K, 10K, half marathon, marathon, ultras. We can actually predict them. If they can maintain that pacing, we know where they're going to be in terms of timings. And so it is a marker of success, but it is also a marker of performance, right? So we understand now if you want to not only work at this rate, and you can get to this rate as terms of high performance and race day, but also we use it for training modalities. So now we can say, if you're going to train at 70% or 60% of your VO2 max, we know what that number actually is, and we can compare it to a heart rate. So now it's an actionable step for that athlete. So the camera system is actually called DARI Motion. It is a markerless motion capture system. So you may have seen where they put little reflective markers on joint centers and you can form a CGI skeleton. And so we can do that, but we don't have to put the markers on you. So you just walk into the screen, it's a green screen floor, it's got 8 cameras set up, and they're all calibrated to each other so everybody sees everybody. So the cool thing about that is now we can take and we can understand how an athlete or a first responder is moving in terms of their left sides versus their right sides. And so sometimes that difference, that asymmetry, actually is beneficial to that job or that sport. So our athletic training staff will work athletes through there post-surgery, and we'll look at how they're recovering in terms of their left side, their surgery side versus their right side, their non-surgery side. So we can look at that development through the rehab process, maybe even post-physical therapy, and really return to play. So now that we have that baseline for them, maybe in a non-injured state, so now if they are injured, we can work them back up to where they really were when they were competing at a very high level.